this carburetor, which made him famous, but for some reason it didn't work when he started marketing it. And now she didn't know the whole story, so I told her, I said, well, our government set up a place in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Fuels Research Institute, and what it did is it worked on his carburetor, hundreds of models of it in that shop, with these scientists trying to change the formula for gasoline. And they finally found out by adding lead to it, it would make some of the gasoline not vaporize, clogging up the bottom of the carburetor, and then none of the carburetors would work right. So they let him go ahead and get out of a military contract supplying all the tanks and Jeeps with good running equipment. They said, here, we're going to pay you out, we're going to cut you loose, you can go ahead and market this to the public. We really need it. So he went out and spent his life savings after he got divorced from his wife in Canada for working with the U.S. government. And he's in the U.S., and he starts building these things, sets up dealers all over the country, and lo and behold, all the dealers call up at the same time starting to complain, we want our money back, these don't work. And they never told him that they changed the formula of gasoline. That was going to set him back at least 20 years. In the meantime, he had to go belly up, and our great government said, tell you what, if you never play with carburetors again, we're going to give you this filter company and this other company. You'll be successful, but don't ever play with engines. Now, in my case, these guys had 100 of my engines in their shop testing them, trying to change the formula for gas. When they finally reported back to Congress, hey, there's nothing we can do to stop the GEET, by then it was already on the internet and worldwide.
Now, this father-in-law I told you about, he built one of the Pogue carburetors for his truck. He was building another for his neighbor, who became my father-in-law later. But he said two guys came up, blue in black suits, and told him, Mr. Babcock, you need to destroy that carburetor you got on the truck and the one that you're building for your friend. Yeah, what if I don't? We'll kill you.
Yeah.
And he said he believed him. And this is a man that worked on the Aswan Dam, and the man that he was building the carburetor for, that happened to be the Marine colonel retired that escorted the aliens from Roswell to Truman's office. So I've had some interesting father-in-laws.
Yeah.
So now tell me, you're expanding your overseas distribution here. How's that working?
Yeah.
And what are you doing in the United States?
We're setting up the 100 dealers in the United States under just, like I said, single dealerships where they can then expand and hire all the sub-dealers under them, because it would take probably 45,000 mechanics to retrofit the equipment just in this country. And rather than my trying to teach them all, I'm setting up 100 satellite offices, which are going to be an extension of the GEET International Institute, where these dealers, when they sign up, can not only sell generators and plans and demo the product, get all the publicity they can, run it on pickle juice, Mountain Dew, challenge the public to bring in something they can't do. We're doing the same thing in foreign countries, but right now in Thailand, their biggest interest is on their buses, big generators, and at the same time they're looking at about 600 to 800 million mopeds a year that are built that pollute like heck. So every country has different requirements. In Europe, where gasoline's $8 a gallon, they just want to get better mileage. So these people don't mind learning how to do it, putting it on their own vehicle, and they don't care if they're only getting a 50% increase. They'd be thrilled. But in this country, we've had so much resistance from government, and the people that do want to build things that are mechanically inclined and can work on an engine, all of them either want to work under EPA rules and guidelines, which are recommendations, or they're always wanting more power, and they're saying, well, you know, if you lose 5% of your horsepower, I'm not interested. I want more horsepower. So instead of spending $1,200 to $1,500 and putting a GEET on their car, they're willing to spend $5,000 to put a couple real good high-power carburetors on there to get 3 miles per gallon instead of 50.
Now, did you mention China?
We have several doors open in China right now. We're talking with people representing China, Africa, South America. We have a mining company in South America right now that would like to do this because of their own equipment, but at the same time they're looking at this as a great sideline for the people. Because if you can come in as a big person in the $1 billion range, not too many people mess with you. In the shipping industry, we have opened a marine division, and we are looking at some of the biggest passenger ships on the ocean right now. We expect to get a tremendous amount of resistance unless we get the publicity done right first, because they are being fined sometimes $50,000 just to pull into a port, a pollution fee.
What now? You mentioned it earlier, but somebody on the chat room is asking, will the GEET pass inspection? What's the situation on that?
Well, in Texas, Utah, and about 5 other states I toured, because I toured 45 states with the GEET unit on that Suburban. We failed the smog test. We didn't have enough pollution to be valid, so they had to give us a waiver, which just means the car is too clean, doesn't need a smog check every year. If you sell a vehicle, then you have to take the GEET off and put it back to factory equipment.
Okay. I think that answered the question here. By the way, you know, I'd love to see every Liberty Village as an outlet and installation thing for you if we can get this started. I think people, if we can, as soon as we get some funding here, and we can approach the farmers and ranchers. Here's how you can make your property, your land, more productive, doing what you've always done and what your fathers and grandfathers did, and teaching that to a city folk, you know, that want to get back to more natural way of living. I'd like to, and if you got a little garage here and you can install GEET on your own property, you know, a cooperative effort here, a farming cooperative.
Yeah.
I think that would be a valuable marketing tool. And if you
a lot of our dealers right now in the country areas are looking at setting up little schools where they're going to be able to bring the public in for $750 to $1,000 and bring in 5 or 10 people at a time and actually convert the guy's own truck or car or something to a GEET so that he can show the students firsthand, here's how it's done. They're also going to be setting up classes all over the United States, Canada, and Europe this next year so that people can go ahead and start retrofitting their own generators. If they can't afford to buy the plans and have me walk through them, if they want to wait until martial law is declared first, it's going to be pretty hard to learn it.
Yeah, we've got a little window of opportunity, I think, right now, and
yeah, very small.
Now, my Canadian guests and listeners are asking if there's any info about GEET in Canada. Of course, you can go to the website. The website's linked. Paul's website is linked there, and you can go there. Just go into the Free American to this show. Listen to this show. Send it to other people. Tell people about this. People need to know there are answers out there, and there's men like Paul Pantone that are willing to risk their life and stand up for the American people.
Well, the Canadians right now only have 6 dealers. Most of them are in the Toronto and Quebec area. There's only one at this time over on the western half of the country. We're hoping that by the time we finish here in America with 100 dealers, we'll have at least 10 or 12 up in Canada. If that doesn't happen, then whatever number we have that's going to be the number, because once I stop teaching in North America, I'm shutting my doors here, and I'm going to go international at that point and just laboratory work only.
Well, I'd like for if you could have your son, I think he's running your website, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, if he would do me a banner like my Liberty Villages and my Hemp USA banner, if he'd do a banner across that, I'd like to put it up at the top of my site.
Yeah, and the next time you're going to have me on the show, you got to link to him, let him know when and where. Because right now we're only getting about 1 million people a month going to our site.
I did that.
And,
I did that. I sent him 2 emails on that confirming the date that we were going to have it. He did have it up on the site that he was going to be on the Free American Show, but he didn't have the date. But now you can take this show. You go to Blog Talk, you save it for your default player that saves it as an MP3 file, or I'll send it to you, and you can put that right up on your website. I want the link. I want people to know about this. Now I'm not going
I have 5 shows today and tomorrow, and one of them is just on the supernatural, spiritual healing and things like that. But since I tie into that field as well because of the discoveries, they'd like me on that show. We have another one that is just strictly political. They want to know names. They want to do the Jesse Ventura style. Let's go in there and kick some doors open. We have to have different approaches to the same knowledge so people can start understanding if you band together, there's more strength than if you stand alone. There's just been too much individualism where every group thinks they have more power by themselves than teaming up. And no, separate and conquer.
Divide and conquer. That's the oldest maximum warfare, and that's what they. I'm on one group. You know, it's SOLR or something. Riders for Liberty is what they call themselves. And I got up on there and I mentioned one thing about these bastard Zionists, and suddenly I was a racist, suddenly I was anti-Semitic, and suddenly everybody wanted me off of the site.
Yep.
You know, come on, folks. You know, this ain't. We can't allow racist talk here. It ain't nothing about racism. Nothing about racism. You know, I don't care what religion you are. You know, the Constitution protects you on that. So you want to.
Well, when I was locked up, I had met with a group of atheists in North Carolina, and they wrote me a Christmas card and signed by all the guys that attended my class there when I went through their town. And on the bottom it said, God bless you, Paul. I had to laugh when I got to that part. It was like, wait a minute, these were atheists. Why did they close that, God bless Paul? I thought that was nice, because I had taught them that most of what I teach right now you'll find in the Bible. We didn't have magnetic north. We didn't have all of these things we do today. Yet those people understood what it was when they walked through Ezekiel. When he was in the flying saucer, looked down, and he said, that is a wheel that appears to be within a wheel within a wheel. And there's these 7 beasts. What are they? Well, all of these things have been brought to me to market. And these are all good things that came from the craft or the chariot that came from the north. Well, what was it? A flying saucer. And how the heck do you explain thousands of years ago what a flying saucer was? It was a chariot that came from the north.
That's right. Matter of fact, in my new novels, fiction novels about that, it's about these people traveling in flying saucers 2,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, been there and done that. Now, they have found generators in Egyptian tombs, haven't they?
Yeah, they found batteries as well. They found all kinds of very interesting things. I can't wait till they start excavating the pyramids over there in Japan they found under the water. That ought to really be interesting because they're going to find things over there that they also found later in Egypt.
I just looked at that yesterday, Paul. I just looked at that. All of these fantastic, huge stone blocks that, you know, you ain't going to move. No, you couldn't have. They couldn't have been built on the sea, so obviously the water level raised, and this was supposed to be a port.
Yep.
And it's as big. It's a pyramid shape, and with steps made out of these huge blocks, just like the. But except. It was done 5,000 years before Egypt.
Yeah. One of the things we also have fun teaching in class is, can you tell me what Stonehenge is and how Stonehenge is the same as Bermuda Triangle and the Devil's Triangle? They're all the same. It's just, do you know how to use them? And you start explaining to people what they're used for in space travel, then all of a sudden their eyes open up and go, oh, that makes sense. But all of it's common sense. If you tie science back to religion, it all goes back to our original teachings. It's just we don't remember them. They're passed on because we didn't have books, so they were passed on in stories from family to family. And after a long enough period of time, people forget details.
Well, the Bible says you're going to forget who you are.
Well, the one thing I've seen, though, is when greedy people, especially the politicians, see GEET, first thing they try to do is figure out how can we get this man out of it. And I have to stop and laugh because all I've asked for is a 3% royalty. I mean, is that too much? And I've agreed that I'll give half of that away even. Because I don't want to be the next Bill Gates. I just want to be a happy inventor. I want to bring all the knowledge I have to mankind and make a cleaner planet.
Okay. No.
Do I need trillions? No.
No. Too much. Too much. But let me ask you this. What about the magnetic generators? Now, I've seen videos of news reports down in Australia, and they're building these generators. They're stackable. Well, you know, I've interviewed the guy down there in Louisiana that built the this magnetic generator in his backyard. He was on Johnny Carson, and couldn't get a patent on it, so he didn't do anything. But what about these magnetic generators?
1951 Secrecy Act. They're supposed to apprehend and control any patent that has certain qualities to it. One is, of course, magnetic energy or free energy. Anybody that declares more than 50% improvement in mileage, the product has to be seized for the protection of the government. They always use the word protection, and they should be saying protection of our income as government officials. But they want to protect their income and their assets, and they don't want better mileage. They don't want clean air. They want to pretend they're doing it so they can keep raping us.
And you know, that's like funding all this these institutions that are studying cancer. I mean, come on, folks. You know, they know how to cure cancer. It's just not legal to do it.
Well, I've been telling people for over 20 years that the one disease in this country that really causes more cancer than anything, and blindness in males, is candida. And it's a fungus, a yeast infection. And men get it from their ladies, and they get it in their lungs. Yeast grows and fungus grows in a warm, dark place. Well, your lungs are a nice, warm, dark place. And then it spreads into your blood, and it gets up into your eyes, your brain, and causes all kinds of problems. And I've had doctors in this country that are MD sit there and argue with me. And today I just got a really nice email in about that exact article by a doctor saying that's what he's finding in all the brain surgeries and everything else and cancer on breasts. And he said, hey, we're getting the same problem over and over, and baking soda fixes it.
That's right. One doctor injected baking soda into breast cancer. It killed it instantly.
Yeah.
It's that's all esoteric knowledge, and it's not for the common man. Don't you?
Well, I've been teaching people for 25 years. If you're having headaches and body cramps, and women, God, if you're having cramps and you want to minimize them, sleep with your head pointed to the north. They've been doing it in Tibet for over 5,000 years, and you know what? It works. It aligns the molecules of your body. Your body is an electrical system. If you take care of it, it'll last a long time. If you expose it to too much heat, too much cold, and back and forth, and you're sleeping the wrong direction, you're not allowing it to recharge, yeah, you're going to drain down, you're going to have problems.
Have you looked into DNA? I'm starting to get a lot of information in on DNA. And
DNA can be slightly altered and modified using crystals. And how do you get a crystal into a human body so you can do that? Well, you've got Xanax, you've got, what's the one they give the kids? Ritalin. There's a bunch of these drugs that were military drugs originally to control the men so that you want a fighting machine. You've got to agitate them, and you can do that by a frequency. By simply turning the frequency up, you can get them so agitated they'll open fire on their own brothers or kids.
To me, one of the greatest dangers in America, besides the chemtrails and the wars, is the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, the ones that you mentioned have a 7,000% markup.
I was going over some of the drugs of a couple of friends here recently that and herbs and things they were taking, and I said, yeah, you're getting maybe one drop of actual medicine or vitamin here, and you're getting the rest of it as filler. and it's the same fillers. But when they run out of one type of filler, they use another one, and sometimes you can have allergic reaction to the fillers. So why are you taking all this? Why not go down and get the purest form of that vitamin or herb you need and take care of it? My brother was telling me that a friend of his had a couple of different things wrong with him, and he mentioned herpes and he mentioned genital warts. I started laughing, pulled them up on the internet, and said, well, based on home remedies, which anybody can search, no, they are not incurable. You can cure them this way, this way, and this way. But in the United States, it's against the law to cure people, so they can't really go much further than they have on the internet. But a lot of people are using herbs and common sense now to get rid of their problems. They're tired of doctors.
That's right. And I had Jason Vale on my show. He was the arm wrestling champion of the United States. They made a movie about him with Sylvester Stallone called Over the Top. And Jason was put back in jail for coming on my show to tell people that he cured himself by eating apricot seeds, which is, I believe, B17, isn't it? And oh yeah, they made apricot seeds into a drug. They call it Laetrile.
No. Well, we had a Hindu priest here, and he was telling me how the Black Plague went through Europe 3 times. That killed about 75–80% of the people, but it's funny, it didn't kill any of the Hindus. I said, well, yeah. And he said, do you know why? I said, yeah, the urine. You guys follow your cows out and drink their urine. You drink a little bit of it, and it gives you antibodies. In this country, we use mare's urine for Premarin. And we give mare urine to women. They stand in line and buy it by the bottle. But they don't call it mare urine. Oh, no, that would be horrible and dirty. We don't want them to know that. But I'll tell you what, if my whole race is still alive and all your people died because you were too proud to say, here, this is what we did, well, fine.
Now,
I think that sounds pretty sacred.
I may have missed it. Tell me again about these magnetic generators. Do those work? Do these work? Are they, you know, now I've got some people that are selling books on them, but I haven't seen one that worked. I had one gentleman tell me he had somebody that was building that, it was all going to work, and he invested a lot of money in it, and nobody ever saw the machine because it didn't exist.
Okay. When I first met you, my oldest boy came over to visit me a few times. He was living with his mom, and I had a magnetic motor sitting on the table, a toy, a little novelty item, just something for him to play with. And after 3 days of playing with it, my girlfriend said, hey, that goes or I go. I said, why? She said, ask your dad. So I called my dad up, and I told him, Dad, is there a problem you could see if somebody had a magnetic motor? He said, yeah, they'll kill you. You get rid of it. I said, okay, if everybody feels that strong about it, I'll get rid of it. Well, we sat there and played with it, but I have not seen anyone come up with the right biblical formula to replicate it. But it costs less than $100 to make, and you can run it all day and all night long running fans. The problem is, you're going to get a lot of people very upset that sell fans and motors and electricity and oil. So yeah, it's a very dangerous thing to play with. If you can build it cheap enough, you've got some enemies. It's like the GEET. I mean, we've done the equivalence of an MRI and an X-ray off the GEET reactor when it's running. Well, can you imagine a $100 or even let's say $5,000 unit that would replace a multi-million-dollar MRI machine that's safe? That wouldn't go over very well. Siemens would be out of business.
That's right. It's all about the commerce. It's all about the money. Anytime you interfere with these banksters, and Thomas Jefferson warned us. He said, if you allow a private bank to issue your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your children homeless in the land that we conquered.
Yep.
Million families without a home right now. And
I believe the report I saw was 5 million more this year are expected.
Well, all I can say is that, would you rather live in a tent in the slums next to the railroad track, or would you rather live in a teepee or a yurt in a Liberty Village?
Well, that's pretty common sense. If there's food and water, I'd rather be in a village. As long as it's not a government-supplied village. The only
form of government would be the township. 10 families that are in charge of making a profit off of the place and maintaining the place. And the homeless veterans will have a home in return for milking the goats, pulling those weeds, and mending that fence, and defending the property if everything falls apart. Because if everything falls apart in cities, if the trucks stop, folks, those people from the cities are going to be coming out to try to take your food and your property in the country. So, you know, we need a defense force, and we've got them. We've got homeless vets. And I want to stop, and I want to turn around this suicide by our veterans. We've lost more of my brothers from Vietnam after they came home than we did in Vietnam. They've committed suicide. And I know, Paul, that with the situation, with what you put through, you know, if it's and it's even more than I've been put through.
Well,
you have to even think about
it. I didn't have the honor of going into the service. I tried to join, and they said, "Boy, you got to be nuts. You got to be pulled up. Nobody wants to join," so they wouldn't let me in. All my buddies at that time started going over there, and a few of them didn't make it back. A few of them that did come back might as well come back as vegetables because they didn't want to work and they couldn't work. Nobody wanted to give them a job. Their life was miserable. So, yeah, I've seen it, and I've gone to the best place for me to show my technology is VFW halls. And if any VFW hall wants to get on that list, all you do is give us a call. We'll find the nearest dealer, and we'll get somebody out there to demonstrate it.
All right, give out your website again, Paul, and tell your son to send me those banners. I'll have them up today.
You got it. The website again is www.GEET, G-E-E-T, international, all spelled out, .com.
All right, Paul Pantone, thank you, sir. God bless you, and get the show downloaded. Get your son to download it and put it up on your site because you were fantastic. Thank you.
God bless.
Well, recording has been completed.